What's going on, everybody? It's Royalty Crypto here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a deep dive on the price of Bitcoin, and I'll be talking about a couple of different catalysts that I believe are affecting the price of Bitcoin as we speak and will likely cause our rally to continue in 2026. I'm also going to go over how high I reasonably expect Bitcoin to get in the next couple of months and whether or not I believe it could potentially get to $200,000 in 2026. Also, guys, this is a brand new channel, so I would greatly appreciate it if you could like it, subscribe. Without further ado, let's take a look at the price of Bitcoin. So as you guys can see here, we are currently trading at 90,500, which is quite a bit higher from earlier this morning, as we did get to as low as 88,600. The reason for that is because Nvidia reported their earnings in the after hours of the stock market, and yet again they have beat analyst expectations. It seems like Nvidia never lets us down, and Nvidia is basically the reason why the stock market continues to go higher, regardless of the concerns of the potential AI bubble that's forming right now. As you guys can see here, Nvidia reported a $57 billion revenue for quarter three, which is a bit higher than the estimate of $55 billion. So they didn't smash their earnings. However, the fact that they were able to surpass $55 billion in revenue is nothing short of impressive, and it does go to show that there is potentially fuel left in the tank for AI stocks like Nvidia. And the reason why I wanted to talk about the Nvidia earnings in this video is because crypto is highly correlated with tech stocks, so we really do need to see the stock market rally continue in order to believe that we could potentially have another leg up for Bitcoin. So this is fantastic to see. But alright guys, so there are two main reasons why I personally believe that the price of Bitcoin has been struggling so much in the past 2 months. The first reason, and the more logical reason in my opinion, is because we are seeing more and more doubt come into the market regarding the December FOMC meeting. As you guys can see here, it was reported today that the US Labor Department have officially canceled the October jobs report. This is the first time since 2013 that we will not be receiving a monthly jobs report. And as you can see, this is being reflected on the FOMC prediction markets, as we currently only have a 33% chance of seeing a rate cut in December now. This is very unfortunate because just a month or two ago, this was fully priced in that we'd be getting a rate cut in December. So in my opinion, the market is trying to price in the fact that we could potentially pause in this meeting. Now, in my opinion, this is only a short-term concern, as I do fully expect to see at least 3 to 4 rate cuts in 2026, and I will talk about that later on in my video, so I'm really not too worried about this. However, I do expect to see quite a bit of volatility to the up and downside until this FOMC meeting happens, and once it does happen, I could see this playing out being similar to a sell the rumor buy the news event, where if we actually do pause in December, it's possible that we could start to flip bullish once that decision is finally made. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. Now guys, the other reason why I believe we've seen such a struggle in the crypto market is because people are still hanging on to the belief that the 4-year halving cycle is gospel for crypto, and I believe that that is creating a lot of fear in the market. So if you guys are familiar with the 4-year halving cycle, it did actually predict that the top of Bitcoin should have been on October 6th, which it was. On October 6th, we topped at $126,000 for Bitcoin, and since then we have had a significant decline. But guys, in my opinion, the 4-year halving cycle was never the reason that we saw Bitcoin bull runs and bear markets in the past. It actually had to do with the business cycle. And regardless of that, the Bitcoin halvings are becoming less and less significant on the impact of the price. As you guys can see here, back in 2012, Bitcoin miners were able to mine 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Now, of course, this was spread out through the entire network, not just one miner, but regardless, of course, that would have a significant impact on the price because the inflation was so high back in those times. Now, we're sitting at only 3.12 Bitcoins mined every 10 minutes. And if you think about it, guys, the institutions like BlackRock and Fidelity on average purchase significantly more than 3 Bitcoin per day. So I really just do not believe that the halving is significant whatsoever at this point in time. But regardless, it is creating a lot of fear in the market because as you can see, the crypto fear and greed index is currently sitting at a 16, which is the lowest that we've seen since the tariff fears back in March and April, which in my opinion, it was a much more reasonable time for crypto investors to be worried back then. Because at that time, we didn't know whether or not tariffs would affect inflation, and of course, if inflation were to skyrocket, then we wouldn't be getting any of these rate cuts In fact, it would be possible that we'd be looking at some rate hikes in order to try to calm the inflation, but that hasn't been the case whatsoever, so the tariff fears have subsided quite a bit since then, and as you can see, we did go on quite a nice rally after April, as we did get back up to nearly extreme greed at one point, and that was back when Bitcoin was making its run towards all-time high. Alright, so that's why I believe that the price of Bitcoin has struggled so much in the past 2 months, but now I want to talk about what I expect for the price of Bitcoin in 2026. So guys, in terms of the macro and in terms of the business cycle, we have so many bullish things coming up in 2026. In fact, this one starts in December of 2025. As you guys can see here, the Federal Reserve has officially stated that quantitative tightening will be ending December 1st. So we are no longer in a restrictive policy in terms of the Fed, which is very important. However, this does not mean that quantitative easing is starting on December 1st. In fact, we will most likely need to wait until 2026 to see that. And that's my next point. Although we don't know for sure whether or not quantitative easing will start in early 2026, I think that it is very reasonable to believe that that will be the case. Now, it's possible that we have to wait until Jerome Powell's term is over, but Jerome Powell will be being replaced in May of 2026, and we all know that whoever Trump decides to appoint as the new Fed chair is going to be very dovish. What I mean by that is he's going to cut rates at a very rapid pace and start quantitative easing probably as soon as he gets into office. And as you can see here, this catalyst is starting to form, and I do believe that this will start to really take off in early 2026. But just as of today, President Trump announced that he will be deciding on the next Federal Reserve chair before Christmas. So I believe that once he does announce who this federal chair is, we will start to get clarity on the market on whether or not he will be a dovish Fed chair. But as I said earlier, we know that Trump has been very vocal about the fact that he wants rates cut as quickly as possible. He wants quantitative easing to start and the money printer to turn on because he is in support of a weaker US dollar, which is of course very bullish for risk on assets. So guys, in my opinion, we could really start to see some bullish momentum pick up once we know who the next Fed chair is, because this will officially create a catalyst for the crypto market. And as we all know, the crypto market is a forward-looking market, so it's very likely that even if Jerome Powell continues to be hawkish in 2026 and isn't giving the risk on asset investors what we want, it won't necessarily matter, because we'll be looking forward to May when the Fed chair is being replaced, and that will potentially set up an opportunity for a buy the rumor, sell the news event. So in my opinion, guys, I could see Bitcoin topping in May of 2026, but we'll just have to be watching indicators during that time just to really know if that will be the case. And if you guys are watching my channel, I will be letting you guys know whether or not I think it's a good time to be taking profits during that time. So briefly, guys, I did want to talk about just a couple of different price targets that I have for 2026 for Bitcoin, and just a couple of scenarios that I could see playing out. So the first one that I think could be very reasonable is that we continue to trade around this area for the next couple of weeks, most likely holding around this trend line. This trend line here represents the bull market that we've been in since 2023 in July. Now, what I think could reasonably happen is once we start to get this hype on upcoming quantitative easing and rates being cut and the business cycle going into the expansion phase, I think that we will undoubtedly start to trend up towards the top of this bull market channel. Now, if that were the case, guys, I could see Bitcoin hitting around 140,000, and that is my personal target for Bitcoin this cycle. However, there is another scenario, guys, where if we have extreme euphoria enter the market and a bit of a retail blow off top, I could see Bitcoin breaking above this channel and trading all the way up to around 180 to 109,000. Now, I believe that we won't fully get to 200,000 because everybody will be calling for it, and a lot of times when everybody expects a price to be hit, the sell-off actually occurs right before it. So I think that it's reasonable to believe that Bitcoin could get to around 180 to 190,000 in that scenario. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope that you guys liked the bullish hopium content, because I do genuinely believe that 2026 should be a fantastic year for Bitcoin. So don't let this bearish period get to you emotionally, and don't get shaken out, because I do believe that this fear will subside like it always does in the coming weeks. And once people start to realize that the 4-year cycle is invalidated, I believe that it will cause a FOMO event that I don't think you want to miss. Of course, guys, this is not financial advice. None of my videos ever have financial advice in them, and please do your own research. But with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you have a great night, and I will be talking to you guys tomorrow.